Happy Sunday. Paco Josso, how are you? As usual, we got a lot to deal with. So this will go live. No, not live. It'll go on Substack for free. And in the month of September, Substack for free is going to go away. Okay, like the great age of TikTok influencers is going away. Hold on, we have to go to this transition because it's a cool part of the song. This is Todd Rundgren's song. There you go. Okay, so Holy War, we do pretty mild-mannered stuff during the week. We do money markets and metaphysics. Then on the weekends, we do things related to religion, like we did the Jewish wars. We talk about things like this, like cults in America. We did techno-feudalism. Last week I did the Assumption of Mary into heaven. So this week we're doing Holy War, and it's not really an easy thing to talk about, but I saw some things in the last 48 hours about Gaza that really shook me. And it goes like this. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. But in Palestine, 150 years ago, it used to be very ecumenical is the best word to use. It was completely controlled by the Ottoman Turks. And contrary to what you hear on Fox News, Islam is really quite open-minded about its relationship with Judaism and Christianity. And pretty much everybody was allowed to go to the Holy Land and worship the way they wanted. And you can see videos on TikTok to that effect. You'll see Muslims with their prayer mats out. You'll see nuns walk by. You'll see Hasidim with the big hats on, like all walking down Main Street in the middle of Jerusalem. So the government of Death Star has seized the checking accounts of the Orthodox Church. The Orthodox Church is, as of relatively recently, in control of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre where Christ was buried. There is talk on the internet, I'm sure you've seen it, Red Heifers, the Third Temple, and all that, of Christianity is considered a heresy. And I just want you to think about this, like the guy on the other side of the Orthodox Church is Vladimir Putin. So we are in that's a cat that wants in, I think. We are in this war on terror thing that I've sort of danced around for the last couple of years and said, Does America have like a secular political problem? Does it have like a religious problem? There's this book that says that our what we think is our political problem is really a religious problem. I'm here to tell you that we're in a holy war. And I think 99% of people don't know which where they stand on that. So I did some just quick AI searches. Approval rating for the Trump administration is about 74% amongst evangelicals. Amongst white males, it's in the mid 50s. Amongst white females, it's in the mid 50s for women. Thanks for the whale. In college educated white women, it's, I think, right at 40% or below support Trump. And that has fallen off rapidly. But it's still the majority for non-college educated white women. And here's where it gets interesting. Linda. Oh, by the way, why do we have Mrs. Rothschild behind us? I'll explain that in a minute. It's partly funny, partly not funny. Support amongst African Americans for Trump has collapsed in a rapid succession of the last couple of months. It's down over 25%. And what this reminded me of, and I've always remembered this, I always thought it was very, very profound, is that if you remember the invasion of Iraq, and we had like a initial, I don't know, about a month of success. We like blasted into Baghdad with 80,000 troops or something like that. And then we got to Baghdad and we realized we had no fucking idea what we were doing. And of course they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. We've heard all that like ad nauseum for years and years. Support for the war amongst black people in America went from like 62% to like 32% overnight. Now, some people would say, well, let's just be, realistic about all this. The demographics of the African American community are poverty, less education, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I feel you. I got you. They're also see the world more, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say religiously. So this is why I'm suggesting that we are in a holy war and we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And here's my point to you. How could it be that 74% of evangelicals are on the same side of people in the Middle East who are defunding the Orthodox Church? Now, evangelicals may not say that these people are actually real Christians, except St. Paul went to Syria, where everybody speaks Greek, and that's the origin of the Orthodox Church. Peter went to Rome, and Paul, like, one went left and one went right, and that's the two churches. And as I pointed out last week, in case you like this kind of thing, those two churches are the only two churches that believe in the Assumption of Mary. What that has to do with anything, I don't know, but this is how my brain works, and this is why I like to produce content on Sunday. But once in a while, they get a bunch of Israelis together and they march around the Temple Mount, which is where the third holiest site in Islam is. And I've seen rabbis just go nuts about this. That says that we are provoking for no good reason, like this horrible infidelity amongst all three religions. So here we are, we got like, what I'm trying to get at is like removing all these, like the war in Ukraine, like wound down. Zelensky came to the White House. In the same day, roughly speaking, all the militias, National Guard, all the militias of the Confederacy were sent to Washington, D.C. Now we're going to have, that's going to be in every major city. Okay. If you remember fourth grade, like if you remember third grade, if you remember like learning the basics of the Declaration of Independence, it's almost like a religious thing we go through. It's like almost like a catechism, right? Like a Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, and that went away, and the thing, and they went to Philadelphia, and they passed the thing, and then a whole bunch of states said no, and they had to come out with the Bill of Rights. And the first sentence in the Bill of Rights is that Congress, I don't know how to say this. I'm going to quote it because I always get it wrong. Article 1, Bill of Rights. Everybody says it's speech. It's not speech. Speech comes second. Bill of Rights, not Bill of Speech. It's from the National Archives. Pros and 12 resolutions. Okay. So I didn't even remember that this exists, but there's transcription of the 1789 Joint Resolution of Congress proposing 12 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. And then that became the first 10, if I remember right. Yeah. So the first sentence is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, comma, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, semicolon, or abridging the freedom of speech, comma, or of the press, semicolon, or of the right of peoples peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I would say, as we sit here today, the First Amendment is gone. And I'll give you a hint. It wasn't the Catholics and Orthodox who got rid of it. And that's what I'm getting at. There's this weird relationship between 74% approval for evangelicals. By the way, a lot of the people who listen to me are evangelicals, and that doesn't influence my, content. The only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip was hit by a bomb. I just downloaded The Economist. 70% of all of Gaza has been flattened. 70%. Mark Levin says, fuck it, this is like Frankfurt. We need to make the civilians not want to have this happen. That's argument for war. This is a holy war, people. This is a holy war. All of it. The MRAPs in Washington, D.C., in front of all the monuments, it's part of a holy war. Seizing the money from the Orthodox Church, holy war. Zelensky outlawed the Orthodox Church in the Ukraine. Now, I'm in Western Pennsylvania where there's more Ukrainians than any other place in America. In every town, Johnstown, Latrobe, Greensburg, all over Pittsburgh, there's Ukrainian Catholic churches and Ukrainian Orthodox churches. If you want to know what Western PA is really like, go watch the movie The Deer Hunter. It's really what the old steel world of Western PA is really like. Okay, Sunshine, tell us something to feel good about. Okay, so there's sort of the framework. I'm not gonna talk about it on here, but there's a TikTok that I downloaded that talks about Trump, and I'm the only guy on the internet that told you the Butler wasn't real. I told you why Butler's not real. I taught told you that this is treason. And this week we learned from, remember, Trump was to go take down the Epstein mafia and the deep state and that whole thing. And he's going to fucking pardon them. This isn't even, see what I'm getting at? This isn't even political anymore. They're going to pardon. I used to call her Ghislaine Maxwell until somebody corrected me in the DMs. It's like, dude, it's not Ghislaine. But anyways, she confirmed that Trump did not have sexual relations with teenage girls. Epstein's attorney, Alan Dershowitz, has argued that there shouldn't be any age for consent. He actually published that and talked about it live on cable TV, and is still a professor at Harvard. That's extraordinary. Unbelievably looked at it very strongly. And she confirmed, this is the punchline of the whole thing this week. She confirmed that her father, I forget his first name, was an intelligence asset. She dances around it. She said that he worked for intelligence during World War II, which became MI6, which has a relationship with American and Israeli intelligence. We'll just leave it like that. They're roughly all the same thing. Which means that my suggestion that Trump is involved with treason has legs. That has legs. Everybody now affiliated with Epstein. The possibility that there's treason, not a conspiracy of a honeypot. It's just the next step of the honeypot operation, is an actual operation with a foreign power to influence, control, manipulate, so forth, American political thing, just like the Article 1 says. I'm going to do a little chest pounding here. I'm the only son of a bitch on the internet that talks about this. The fact that she admitted that, it's a lot like the Tucker thing. Okay, Tucker, does your father work for the CIA or not? Well, one day it's this answer and one day it's that answer. So, call me crazy, I'm going to say it's the affirmative. And then you have to ask yourself, why does Tucker dance around this? So then we know from TikTok, it's going to become M2 next month, the person who's going to control the censorship. I was deleted because I said the censorship that's happening comes from Death Star. The new censorship for the new TikTok comes from Death Star. It's, again, do you want me to read Amendment 1 to you again? It's all in Amendment 1. It's all in the first paragraph of the Bill of Rights. The thing that in some ways, other than the shot heard around the world, but like America as we think about it as like this republic with these rights and all this stuff, it's gone. But here's what's interesting. Who gonned it? The evangelicals. Who are allied, not only with a foreign power, seizing the assets of the people that control the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, who have run a honeypot operation here with foreign intelligence assets. It's not even time to talk about politics anymore. You have to see this in a holy war. Where you fit in that, I'm not even like suggesting where to land in that. In some ways, we're all in it, and we all don't know what the fuck we're doing. I think this is irony. I voted for Jill Stein, who's probably the only person, and she's obviously Jewish and culturally at the very least. She's the only one that's very clear on all this. Call Netanyahu and tell him to get fucked. Which brings us to everybody's favorite Mrs. Rothschild. And of course, Death Star was created by the Rothschilds. If you know, you know. If you don't, go do some homework. That's not a conspiracy theory. Like, it's on their coin. It's like in their founding documents. It's like how it works. So we're gonna the next phase of what's going on is going to be probably the occupation of all major American cities. I think Trump already this week is talking about Chicago. Next will be San Francisco. They're already started with LA. So we'll have all the big, I mean, the great American cities, right? All the cities of over 5 million people will all have MRAPs. Those are those big V-shaped things that can't be blown up by IEDs. National Guardsmen, assault rifles, the whole shebang will be in every American city. Now, again, I've actually started to take notes for these things because there's too much to talk about. But just as a little data point, a building just sold in San Diego, downtown San Diego, for $69 million. It was purchased in 2006 for $150 million. That's over half. San Diego, where it's 68 degrees and sunny every day. The property values of office buildings in downtown American cities is down over 50%. It wasn't a foreclosure. Understand that this is just a big private equity real estate group in California called the Irvine Corporation, I think. Took a $80 million loss on a perfectly standing glass and steel tower in the middle of San Diego and just said, let's get the fuck out. So if that applies to San Diego people, it applies to every American city, which now have armed troops roaming all over the streets, grabbing people off the streets in the back of restaurants and hotels and throwing them into vans. Shall we read Amendment number 1 again? So what are we doing? All right, so I like to do this like metaphysical sort of pseudo-religious thing. If you want to really get right into the guts of the political financial world, your gal is Catherine Austin Fitts. Okay? You can go listen to Catherine Austin Fitts as a dyed-in-the-wool conservative. You can go listen to Catherine Austin Fitts as a very committed liberal, even socialist. And she can tell you how Wall Street and the military-industrial complex fit together better than anybody. In fact, I don't try to keep up with her. I just try to tag along. But she's the one that explained before COVID, before the riots, she talked about the opportunity zones. A lot of the things that Bruno and company talks about is related to the opportunity zones. Now, these things came well before Trump. 2014, 2015, you can go look at it. It's called EIG.org. 16% of the United States of America is in an opportunity zone. Think of how big, not 6, not 16% of America is in an opportunity zone. All of these big cities are all of Oakland, California is an opportunity zone. All of downtown Los Angeles is an opportunity zone. We're talking hundreds of square miles in Los Angeles County is in an opportunity zone. This is where the troops are being sent. So what we're doing here, folks, is we're tying 3 things together that it's hard to find somebody who can go through all 3. We're talking about religion, we're talking about finance, and we're talking about war, all at the same time. Let's just all calm down. Restaurant reservations in Washington, D.C. are down 32%. It's funny, people just don't like to go to get dressed up and go to dinner and walk by people with machine guns. It's funny how that works. But by the way, I'm for a much stronger police presence. I think Washington D.C. should have 300 policemen on horses. I think that policemen on horses are sort of cool, and the horses look cool, and they're sort of intimidating in a nice way. But people like to see horses, etc., etc. But nobody cares what I think. Anyways, the purpose of the MRAPs and the machine guns is not to preserve the businesses, but to destroy them. And this is Catherine Austin Fitts. She's the one that told us all about the pallets of bricks, right? She said and this is the kind of mind she has. She said she and her team laid out the riots during COVID and put a circle around them where they were. And then there were these weird things that were popping up on Twitter about these pallets of bricks. And she had, they put pins in and so forth. And they said all these riots, all these Black Lives Matter riots and Antifa riots are all in the opportunity zones to wreck the value of the properties. And why would they do that? Because they came here and they're restructuring the whole fucking thing. They're going to take ownership of all the cities, whether it's through BlackRock or Blackstone or Black this or Black Toads or whatever. They're going to, and if they let it go through a natural market clearing, it would destroy the banking system. In other words, you just can't have building after building take $25 to $50 million losses. It would wipe out all the equity in the banking system. The banking system doesn't really have any equity in it anyways, but let's all calm down. Now, here's where I can add a little bit of value. Understand is this new Genius Act XRP stablecoin thing, which is now live, which is now officially approved, and so on and so forth. What will happen is the treasuries will be eaten up by these stablecoin things and then put on the bank balance sheets as an asset. Okay, if you think there's a reason to go to Substack and pay $9.95 a month, I just gave it to you. There's very few people who are telling you how simple this is. Right on this side of the screen, the banking system is bankrupt because of the real estate in the big cities. So are they sending the National Guard in to prop things up? No. Sending the National Guard in to eradicate, to just crush it. Okay? Then there's going to be some sort of big settlement with the banks. The banks will therefore own everything. Who owns the banks? Okay? So the banks, the giant banks, will effectively own all of the big cities that are in opportunity zones where they don't have to pay capital gains for 10 years. You see where I'm going with this? The 80% of lending from commercial banks goes against real estate. Okay? So all this is going to be crushed, like I just explained in San Diego, right? Big, nice tower in downtown San Diego is down 50%. Perfect weather, 5 minutes to the beach, etc. This will be replaced by this, and this is the stable value coins. So we need another column. The other column is this column. Sorry, this is Stephen Moran. This is the $8 trillion of U.S. Treasuries that are coming due that they could have refinanced during COVID at 1 1/8% for 30 years. But they decided not to do that. They decided to put $10 trillion coming due under the Trump administration. Now, was it a mistake? I don't know. But just think about it. Like they could have woken up every Tuesday and Thursday and issued $100 billion, $200 billion, and just day after day. So even if wasn't 1 3/8, maybe it was 1.5, maybe it was 1 7/8, 2%. Who gives a shit? Just push it all. Just refinance it all out below 3%, below the rate of inflation. No. For some reason, Janet Yellen didn't do that. And I know most Americans will go, that's because she's a Democrat. Well, I don't think that that's how the world works, people. I don't think it has anything to do with the Democrats. This guy argued that they're going to do 100-year bonds. They're not doing 100-year bonds. This guy argued that they're going to, if you've seen my other work, you can go find this yourself. It's called A User's Guide to Restructuring the Global Trading System. It's the guy that Trump just appointed for the Federal Reserve Board, who will probably become the chair. So all these things are going to be short, and they're going to be absorbed by the stable value coins, the crypto stable value coins, and put on the balance sheets of the banks. It's not that hard. And I think this week, did I get this right? I think the banking, there's a couple different layers of banking regulation, but they announced that the banking regulators will no longer be auditing the bank's use of crypto. Why? It's because it's ready to go. They don't need to in other words, they were there you have to do this the right way. Now that it's all ready to go, and it's happening as we speak, the trillions in treasuries are being eaten into the stable value coins and then put onto it's not being put into people's IRAs or something like that. It's being put on the balance sheets of the banks, but they are considered an asset, not a liability. But how did they do that did they do that with dollars? No. The crypto is converting to value as it absorbs. It doesn't make any. Well, you normally if you had dollars here and you're buying treasuries, it goes like this, right? That's not how this works. All the XRP, for example, right now is worth about $400 billion. But the more it's used and the more we run up the value, the more treasuries it can absorb. $400 billion. But the more it's used and the more we run up the value, the more treasuries it can absorb. Okay, so we have war, we have the occupation of American cities. We have war overseas, we have seizing the money from the Orthodox Church. That's fucking crazy. Well, there are some who believe that we're not creating the new world order, we're creating the new world order. Sort of funny, when my youngest son was born, his cousins referred to him as new cuz. So this is new world order. Some people believe, and you can take this for what it's worth, there's a really very, very, very bad, disturbing video going to go up this afternoon about Trump and Butler and his religious affiliations. It's hard to watch. That they actually want the thing in the Middle East to get worse. And if it gets worse, the guy coming to the rescue is Putin, Xi, and Iran, all at the same time. Truly a holy war. The guy I follow on here, and you've heard me talk about him, and it sounds goofy, so you went to Yale and you read Harold Bloom and shit, and you reference this weird Sheikh Imran Hussein? Here's the story. We went from the Pax Britannica to the Pax Romana to the Pax Americana, and now we're going to the Pax Judaica. And he said this was based on gold, this was based on the dollar and oil, and this is based on crypto. And I saw that like 3 years ago, and I was like, I don't think I've seen a better thesis explained of what the fuck is going on. We're moving off of the American dollar system. Don't listen to the people who say the dollar is going to collapse. They don't know what they're talking about. It's sliding. It's down 11% for the year, and they're going to get rid of Powell. Powell's probably going to cut to some degree in September, which means the dollar is going to slide more. The dollar went down 1% when Powell announced that thing in Jackson Hole. Okay? But see, they want this. They want the thing to slide like this. They want money to sort of slip into the new system quietly, the new system being XRP, the level 1 and level 2 Ethereum-based systems, Bitcoin, etc. So the Federal Reserve is going to cut when the price of gold went up no. The price of gold has gone up over 30% in 9 fucking months. And they're going to cut interest rates? The US dollar is down by 1/3 against gold, which if JP Morgan were alive or Bernard Baruch or somebody like that would say, well, the real index of the dollar isn't the Japanese currency, which is shit, and it's not the euro, which is shit, and it's not the yuan, which is shit. The real 7,000-year relationship of any currency to something that makes any sort of sense is gold. And gold, the price of stocks used to be priced in the Wall Street Journal in dollar terms and in gold terms. In other words, if you did that today, like you can price NVIDIA in like Bitcoin terms. You can price NVIDIA in dollar terms, obviously. You can price NVIDIA in euros, and you can price it in gold. So gold is up by 1/3, which means the dollar's down by 1/3, and still the Fed's going to cut interest rates. Which brings us to Venezuela. So we have 4,000 Marines and 4 Aegis-class cruisers on their way to Venezuela. Venezuela has been declared, this is more of the holy war thing. This is like a crusade, right? This is like the Armada, right? Trump's going to go out and here's the part that, like, do you know during these last couple of years of this, it's not immigration, it's not people crossing the Rio Grande, okay? It's organized immigration. It's been paid for. These people have been shipped in, okay? And a lot of them are Venezuelan. So, well, in order to pull this thing off, Trump has to declare Maduro to be a terrorist operation. So we're going to use the terrorism thing like we have since 9/11 to go to the country in the, our hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, but in the Americas that has the largest oil reserves. Because this whole thing has to work, it has to have energy. It has to have energy behind it. Here's a deep thought for you. I just thought of this yesterday, like making oatmeal. Another way to think of inflation is entropy. What? Like I saw a farmer from the Midwest saying in the 70s, price of corn hit $4 a bushel, and the biggest John Deere combine you could buy was $35,000. It's currently at $4, which is good for grocery prices for the United States and the world, actually. The biggest combine that John Deere sells is $1.2 million. So that's like an inflation thing, but it's also like an entropy thing. It means like the ability, my dad just said this, we're driving home from visiting our family on the other side of the ridge. He said, I remember the local county agent telling us that there's like 40 farms like within 5 miles of us, and they all sent their kids to college, and none of those farms exist anymore. They used to send their kids to college farming. Now you could. Now you couldn't. You'd be lucky to pay the light bill. In other words, on a small farm in the northern Appalachians. So whenever you hear like inflation, even like the price of eggs is basically the price of energy. The price to produce corn and feed it to a chicken and make an egg and put it in a box and put it on a truck and get it to your grocery store and blah, blah, blah is just all a function of energy. So the reason the energy thing has to work is because that's what, and Trump is right about that. When he says drill, 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 and I've said this on here like ad nauseum, like he's right. You need more oil, you go drill for oil. Oil doesn't come out of the sky, it doesn't come out of a windmill, it comes out of the ground. So that's what has to some degree kept inflation, although inflation is still, for a number of reasons, sort of annoyingly sticky. It's like in the mid threes, like the super core inflation has a lot to do with housing and other things. Housing, healthcare, education. That's why we're going to Venezuela. So as all this goes on, the Middle East, I know I sound like I'm all over the place, but it's day after day, folks. It's all connected. Okay. Politically, there's some changes happening in the Democratic Party. There's like an interesting guy, real, intense candidate from Maine. There's one who I think is a Christian pastor in Texas. But I don't even think that the Democratic Party even has a foil to Trump, which again leads me to believe that we're not really in a political thing. We're like in a holy war. Which now leads us to technology. So I heard Nick Fuentes, of all people, is now tying, as other people are, American technology to Death Star. Particularly Palantir. Palantir was the first person that Zelensky met with when he was elected president of Ukraine. 1.7 million unalived Ukrainians later, and the carving up of Ukraine, were soil, energy, rare earths, everything. A third of it's going to Russia, and 2/3 of it's going to fucking BlackRock. You got to have a little fun. But that's what Palantir is. Palantir is running, it's like the pinnacle of the AI systems. Super intelligent AI tells us that all the AI systems really go back to the Department of Homeland Security. This isn't me talking, this is super intelligent AI. You can go find him. They all go back to the Department of Homeland Security. They all go back to Google. Google has all the data. All of this is centralized, and it really comes from DARPA. Or you go look at all of them. Oracle, Amazon, they all have a connection to DARPA. This is why the tech all has a connection to war. And this is what America has. This is the holy war. This is why, everywhere you look, there's this weird relationship between politics, religion, finance, and technology is sort of all one big gobbledygook thing. It's just which part of the Rubik's Cube do you want to look at first? Now, here's the problem. I don't think the thing in Venezuela is going to go all that great. The real world of the Middle East, let's just call it the Middle East, Ukraine and Venezuela, isn't really looking good for the West. The real sort of, let's say the logistics, is that old cliche about tactics are for amateurs. What's really important in warfare is logistics. The logistics of warfare for the West is going bad because of the alliance between Russia and China and Iran. For example, right after we blew up the mountain there, Russia and China delivered fighter jets to Tehran. Like 3 days later. Like seriously, like they were boom and this big beautiful bomb and all that bullshit from Trump and like here come the Su-36s and here's the JC-10s coming in from the other thing with probably with Pakistani pilots who just blew the shit out of these Indian pilots with jets that cost 50 times more than not 50 times but about 10 times more than the Chinese made jets. The logistics of the thing isn't looking real good. The logistics of the giant AI thing isn't looking real good either. So in other words, just sit here for a minute and think like about 45 minutes away, they're going to build a giant data center where a coal-fired plant used to be. It is going to suck enormous amounts of natural gas out of the Marcellus Shale. And it's going to run large language models. The AI people, okay, and there's another story I could tell about the one that Grok has in Memphis that Elon Musk likes to say, and you know, the Antichrist is coming from Memphis, ha 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 ha. And then there's the one in Louisiana. Oh, by the way, in case you think this holy war thing is too much, Peter Thiel is going to give like a 4-part lecture series on the Antichrist. Not making this up, people. I want to thank all the evildoers out there for creating so much content. So really all I have to do is like put on my old like sport coat and hit the button and I can just go on for hours and hours. Because they just make so much fucking absurd content that I can just go on and on and on. Facebook's going to do one in Louisiana. It's going to be like the size of like from Wall Street to Harlem. It's like the size of lower Manhattan, of the bulk of Manhattan. These are, let's think about these a little bit. These really are our occupation. I mean, they're going to use it for medicine and so forth. But most of what you hear from Alex Karp, who ran Ukraine, Alex Karp, who ran Gaza, 70% of it's gone, most of what they talk about is the kill chain. We're going to take the trillions of dollars that are left, and Trump is the champion of this, right? Trump is the Caesar of this. The trillions of dollars that we're going to reinvest in America aren't going to be like a partnership with like GM and BYD or something like that. That sort of makes some sort of fucking sense. No, we're going to make trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions in large language models. The large language models are already starting to run out of content. What? The large language models are already doing like an Ouroboros thing. The AI is already starting to feed on the AI. This is why they use the word recursive, which is like this. I don't think we have anything to show for the war on terror, right? I mean, like, is Libya now like an asset of the American people or something? No, of course not. Is Iraq, do we get the oil? No. And people who have been there said it's just, Iraq is just filled with Chinese contractors. I think we spent, over $1 trillion turning Iraq over to Chinese contractors. We're going to spend, just like the war on terror, we're going to spend trillions now. And trillions. Now it's not even like a political like war thing. We have to. Now the war is here. These AI large language model things are going to be to control us. The holy war is now against us. If Putin or Xi, a lot of people don't know that there's all this activity going on in China in regards to the Palestinians. And we know Iran is sort of the ultimate bulwark against, the Western control of the Middle East. If Putin intervenes in the Middle East in a bigger way than it's already been done. Scott Ritter's been talking about some secret meeting between Israel and Russia. We'll just not get into that, but like, it may already be happening. We won't have the resources here to intervene. And we're not going to send 4,000 Marines to Venezuela and 40,000 paratroopers to Gaza. We're not going to do that. The political thing is so like falling apart, right? But now let's talk about market cap. Like half of the stock market is AI. Nvidia, Google, Meta, Facebook, Microsoft, OpenAI, just on and on. There's just trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions. Is anybody making any money off of this? Not really. They're making money off the infrastructure, which is the chips primarily for the large language models. Like the end sale, like the selling of the software as a service isn't happening, isn't generating any revenue. So you see these, like just do NVIDIA in your own mind, like, so it's $4 trillion. So let's say God wanted to buy stock. So God buys NVIDIA for $4 trillion. Will God ever get his $4 trillion back? No. NVIDIA will never make $4,000 billion. Never. Never. It's not even clear that you need these super FYG 100s or whatever to make large language models. They don't have them in China. They have some. They're probably through the black market or something. They're building big AI systems in China without these chips. The US government just had to take ownership of a chunk of Intel. That's how bad it is. Some people say that like that's a great triumph. Other people were like, yeah, it's because we can't make the chips that we need. So we have a real big conundrum that sounds a whole lot like Rhett Butler. Oh, we're going to go to war with the North and we don't have a cannon factory. Oh, we're going to spend all of our excess capital. So just think of it like that. Like, how much excess capital does America really have? I don't know. It's probably a couple $1 trillion a year. Corporations make like $2.5 trillion. The government can borrow a couple trillion whenever it wants. The Fed can print a couple trillion whenever it wants. You know, it'd make interest rates bounce around a little bit, but it's all amongst friends. But so maybe we can lay out like year after year, maybe like $2 or $3 trillion or something like that. It's all going into AI. On this app, you can go find all kinds of AI people who are like, it's not clear that there's ever going to be any return on that expenditure. That's Nate, that's super intelligent AI, that's CJ Townsbridge, that's somebody else that I just, let me see if I can find him real quick. I'll play it for you because I DM'd him last night. Here he is.
Not enough people are talking about how game-changing Claude MCP.
Stay there just for a second.
Not enough people are talking about how game-changing Claude MCP.
This is an AI guy.
Hear me out here, because not enough people understand this point right here. In the last video, I spoke about AI bubble. It's a lose-lose. If AI wins, jobs are gone. If AI loses, all of the large tech companies are going to take a massive hit, meaning the markets are going to crash. So it's a lose-lose situation with this AI bubble. Whether you agree or not, I think it's a pretty sticky situation. Now, this is a core belief of mine. Nothing ever matters because we could create our reality and concepts. We could just make new things. This is so true. If you look at the financial markets and raising money and private equity and all of these things, especially in finances, it's all built on the fact that everyone agrees that it works. That is it. Like it is fugazi, like a lot of it. And if you're looking at these companies and you think OpenAI, like another guy in the comment section said, I can't wait for OpenAI to lose all the money and Sam Altman to go broke. Sam Altman will never go broke because they could literally create a new reality and new concepts. And he, with the influence he has, could just make new shit. and raise more money. Like, a lot of it is built on these principles. That's a lot of life, in my opinion. That's like, if you look at it from a negative way, it sort of sucks. But if you look at it in a positive way, where you could really just create your own rules and do things, it's pretty freeing to an extent. Obviously, there's humanity. There's a bunch of other concepts that come into play. But
Humanity.
shout out to this person, because I think a lot of life, especially the financial markets and the tech bubble and the AI and all this stuff, whether you like it or not, it just comes down to this right here. You just make shit up. And if the majority of people agree on it, specifically the majority of power holders, meaning the top 5%, it's going to go. It's going to work. It's just going to happen. It's something I can't thoroughly explain, but if you understand what I mean, let me drop a comment, because I have a hard time explaining it, but I think it's true. Hear me out here, because not enough people understand at this point.
Shaz. S-H-A-Z. Shaz. That was Shaz on AI. I don't disagree with anything, and I'll wind down. I'll keep this within an hour. I think he laid it out perfectly. He's saying like Elon Musk somehow gets $30 billion whenever he wakes up in the morning and wants to go do something. Nobody knows where it comes from. I want to buy Twitter. I need $40 billion. Is Tesla making any money? No, but here's another $40 billion. Nobody ever explains this to you. Okay, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to wind down this conversation about holy war. Okay, so there's 7 million people in Death Star. There's 7 million of their fellow co-religionists, as JFK said in West Virginia, here in the United States, with a lot of influence, let's just put it like that, amongst friends. That accounts for like 90% of all people of their religion. This thing where you attack Ukraine, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, Gaza, now we're going to Venezuela. The problem is here, folks, the problem is there's a little bit less than 1 billion Westerners. And there's 7 billion non-Westerners. So the math is a little intimidating. Now, if you think that we have enough AI, Alex Karp tells us that all we need to do is just take the gloves off with the kill chain. So the plan is the holy war is going to be won by the kill chain. The kill chain is AI. If you think that's going to work, everything's great. Go buy the NASDAQ. If you're a little bit skeptical about stealing the money from the Orthodox Church, not so much. Not so much. Your retirement account is primarily driven not by dividends, not by earnings, not by valuations. It's built into growth. There's not a lot of growth from Exxon or GM or Bank of America. The growth of the American economy is all in AI. And I'll leave you with this. Everybody's favorite, speaking of all in, that's what made me think of this. Everybody's favorite AI venture capital investor, Chamath Palihapitiya, is coming back out with his SPACs. SPACs are, as almost the name implies, are just complete financial bullshit that people invest in. Let me see if I can find this for you real quick, and I'll leave you with this. You tell me if this makes you feel warm and fuzzy. I hope I can find it.
AI is about to get even crazier in the next year.
Hold on. Give me just a second. I hope I can pull this off for you.
Special purpose acquisition.
Hold on. I think I got this. Because I DM'd him. Hold on.
Here's what you need to know.
Here we go. Oh, here it is.
So it's getting a little bit weird out there again. Remember SPACs from 2021 where everything was awesome and everything SPACed, sky high rocket, and then went straight down basically like the majority of the pump and dumps. Well, this is the SPAC king. This is Chamath. He was early at Facebook, made lots of money, has made a lot of investments, is a VC, a family office, an LP, basically every aspect of the financial chain. And he's been somewhat quiet besides being on the All In podcast, but now he's back with a new SPAC. And let's see what his track history actually is. SoFi is his best. The banking one's up 142%. Open, which is now a little bit of a meme in real estate, is only down 62%.
62.
Space, remember Virgin Galactic, we're going to go up to space. Never really happened. That's down 70%. Clover
70%.
in healthcare is down 74%.
74.
Croc, don't even know what it is. That's down 75%. And Ackley, which was like medicine, gaming for like ADHD, is down 96% and got delisted. So he's back. He's going to go out and raise at least 200.
Sorry. That's my 1 hour puzzle piece movement to prove that I'm not a bot, that I'm a real person. So he just named 5 or 6 or 7 SPACs that this guy, who's everybody, he goes on CNBC. I remember very well about 4 years ago, he went on CNBC, told everybody he would never be selling his Tesla. Everybody should continue to buy Tesla. That motherfucker was selling it as he was on CNBC. But this is sort of a bell ringer kind of a thing, people. When a guy like that who's worth, I don't know, $5 billion or something comes out and does something that's about this close to being illegal, he's basically issuing a blue sky. You've heard the term blue sky. That came in my business. By the way, someone just asked me, like, what's your background? 25 years, registered investment advisor, executive vice president as a stockbroker. When somebody comes out and says he's just raising money to raise money, he's just getting $250 million to put it in cash and put it in his pocket, because he knows that this motherfucker could go boom. We're not talking like, the .com thing was just all this hysteria and like, the .com thing was just all this hysteria about the internet, but the internet was real, right? We live in the internet. I'm talking to you through the internet. Because JDS Uniphase, which eventually went down 98%, built the fiber optic switches that allow me to have the bandwidth to talk to you over my phone on a Sunday afternoon for free. Like, that was all real. Then we had about $1 trillion of bad, shitty mortgages, just bad credit, like the savings and loan crisis in 2008, right? No, people, this isn't $1 trillion problem. This is like a $20 trillion problem. The NASDAQ is, there's not $20 trillion that the Fed's going to print. There's not, we're not going to go to like Mitch McConnell and like raise a TARP fund for AI. It's all, you saw Trump, as soon as he was elected, what did he do? Got on a fucking plane, went to the Middle East to get money for AI. This could be this is why this is holy war. Like, go study Alex Karp yourself. Like, the guy running Palantir is created by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel gave $25 million to JD Vance. JD Vance is one heartbeat away. They are all in that AI is going to maintain the American empire against the rest of the world. In a quote, Alex Karp said, yeah, we're going to go to war with Russia and China and Iran. We're going to win using AI. It's a holy war. What side are you on?